My main objective is to get everybody to take ownership of their lives. And in this modern day, I believe that we have every single thing we need at our disposal to solve every single one of our problems. But we have to remember the institutions we are looking to give us the support, security, and protection that we want do not have our best interests at heart. GPs, governments, and big pharma are playing a game that has not worked at the cost of our lives, and we have paid them for it. And today I'm going to discuss the NHS and the scandal of prescription drugs. GPs have been paid to prescribe ineffective drugs. Now, I don't believe the GPs have done this intentionally. I believe this is a data and point of view issue. I believe some GPs find life incredibly easy just to prescribe a prescription pill to get an issue within a tolerance and to say that's okay. After I discuss these topics, I want you to think about how did we get here and who is it benefit or who does it benefit? GPs are paid to prescribe ineffective drugs. Did you know that up to a fifth of an average GP salary is effectively commissioned on drugs, on the basis they decrease the NHS's disease burden and cost? Because a 10-year study has revealed that a vast increase in drug spending has done nothing at all to decrease NHS costs. To put it into numbers, 30 billion has been spent rewarding GPs for prescribing drugs that have proven close to useless. That money comes from our taxes. Britain has conducted the largest ever uncontrolled public health experiment, which ran for 15 years. It cost taxpayers 30 billion and found no benefit. The expectation was that it would save up to 30,000 lives, cut admissions to hospitals, and increase life expectancy, therefore reducing costs to the NHS. The NHS started paying GPs for checking biomarkers such as blood glucose, triglycerides, and cholesterol, and then prescribing drugs to bring them down if they were over the official healthy level. They even got rewarded for identifying obese patients but did nothing about it. In just 15 years, the number of prescriptions written by GPs has gone up 3 times. A rise which is implicated in a 75% increase in hospital admissions for adverse drug reactions between 1999 and 2008. Majority of these are elderly because they are more likely to be diagnosed needing treatment. As we age, markers of ill health such as cholesterol and blood pressure naturally rise, as well as being more likely to suffer the ill effects because their resilience naturally decreases. From 2000 to 2010, statin prescriptions went from 15 million to 70 million with no evidence of benefit for the elderly. Despite their widespread use, evidence for the effectiveness of statins in the elderly remains unclear. So far, the only clinical trials in Britain that have specifically examined the drug's effects in the elderly found that men were just 1% less likely to have a fatal heart attack. Blood pressure pills emerged a bit more effective, treating 2,400 people will prevent 50 strokes, which makes it worthwhile, but there are no fewer deaths, most likely because of the rate of damaging side effects associated with the drugs. The current medical practice of fetishizing numerical goals for blood pressure and the like has led to an onslaught of drug treatments aimed to bring people aged 60 and older in line with some 30 and 40-year-olds. The shocking truth is the NHS is guilty of a terrible betrayal to our elderly. A year-long study on 100 nursing homes found patients that stopped 320 of their drugs cut the yearly mortality rate from 45% to 21%, and dropped hospital admissions from 30% to 11%. A better result achieved by any drug treatment anyway. Now, 40% of adults aged 65 and over take 5 or more prescription medication. Adverse drug reactions have been estimated to be the 4th leading cause of death in hospitals and are responsible for more than 700,000 hospital visits each year. 17% of adults were prescribed antidepressants in 2017 and 2018. The NHS spent 168 million on drugs containing the active ingredient sertraline, Painkillers cost the NHS in England 442 million per year. There were almost 700 deaths from high-strength pills like tramadol, codeine and oxycycline in England and in Wales in 2019, compared with fewer than 350 deaths 10 years ago. I believe the objective where GPs were going to use prescription drugs to reduce the burden on the NHS was made with good intentions. However, it's taken 20 years for us to identify that these prescription pills have done nothing but to increase the NHS's costs and put effectively 30 billion in the pockets of those prescribing the drugs. That money comes from our taxes. To feel like we were part of an experiment, that our loved ones were part of experiments, doesn't sit well with me. Every time a government institution takes on an objective, it's never done well. There is no obvious financial reason for it to be a success, so it doesn't become important. And the idea of a experiment to take 15 years to identify that it was ineffective and actually resulted in more lives being lost, and resulted in doctors doing tests on patients, and rather than trying to push them to change their lifestyle or educating them or just giving them an option, saying, your blood pressure level is very high, these are holistic things you can do to reduce your blood pressure: exercise, diet, cold water exposure. There's loads of holistic things that we can do to improve our bodies, and it puts the onus back on us. I think if somebody's going with an issue and they're going to the GP and the GP is saying you need to go and do these healthier things, that is more beneficial to the country and to that person than for a GP to write a prescription for a drug that magically fixes something but causes another problem. However, GPs are getting rewarded for doing tests, identifying whether people are obese or not, and then leaving them and not helping them, or identifying that people have high blood pressure and diabetes and not helping them change their lifestyle. And at the same time, GPs might say, well, people don't go home and do it. They don't follow the diet. They don't change their ways. They don't try and improve their lives. Then the GP is not at fault, and it's the person that's not doing these things. The whole nation shouldn't have to pay for people who can't look after their own health. Because when we need it, when we're actually sick, there is no availability because we're focused on a minority within the system. Increasing the amount of drugs has actually ended up resulting in a 75% increase in admissions for adverse drug reactions between the years of 1999 and 2008. Things can only be worse now in 2023. The problem is it's our elderly that are suffering, because they're the ones that have the markers of ill health. They're the ones with blood pressure and cholesterol issues. They're also most likely to suffer the effects of ill health because their resilience naturally declines. Prescription pills went from costing the government 15 million to costing the government 70 million with no evidence of benefiting our elderly. I think the system has gotten so corrupt where people believe the only solution is prescription pills, where the marketing and the manipulations done by big pharma and how they use doctors to prescribe these drugs that obviously have clear benefits but are not the solution. They're just a continuous cost that keeps increasing. My point is, and this is the most important takeaway I have from this experiment, from this research, is essentially we're not helping people. We're not saving money. We're not saving lives. We're actually making people less healthy by simply prescribing pills for every condition from when you're 40 or when you're 30 all the way up to retirement age, and then even more when you're retired. stops people from looking after themselves throughout their life. And I'm not talking about every disease here. I'm only talking about the lifestyle affected diseases. And we know these are lifestyle diseases because we have the blue zones. The blue zones are the 5 zones around the world where people live on average to 100. Numerous research done on these people, and they've identified the key most important things to a healthy, strong population. These are the things we should be pushing forward as solutions. They cost the government no money. We need to educate people. Educating people and identifying and showing them where they're going wrong, and then holding them to account. If people choose not to look after themselves, they choose not to look after themselves. And that's at their cost. That's at their detriment. We can't babysit every single person. And this is what all this research tells me. Things are being sugar-coated. We are being manipulated into believing a system works well. I can't identify why we're allowing it to happen. Why the people in power are allowing it to happen. Between 1995 and 2010, the proportion of UK adults getting 5 or more drugs doubled to 20%. 10 years ago, they did a year-long study on 100 nursing homes, and they identified that by stopping 320 of their drugs, they cut the yearly mortality rate from 45% to 21%. In that same year, hospital admissions dropped from 30% to 11%. Why? Take what we learned from those learnings and apply it to keep those people alive longer. Now, 40% of UK adults over the age of 65 have 5 or more prescription medications assigned to their name. The adverse reactions from drugs is estimated to be the 4th leading cause of deaths in hospitals and resulting in more than 700,000 hospital visits a year. Our GPs, our health service has become a pill dispensary. 17% of adults were prescribed antidepressants in 2017. The NHS spent 168 million on drugs containing the active ingredient sertraline. Painkillers cost the NHS 442 million every year, with every year almost 700 people dying from high-strength pain pills like tramadol and codeine and oxycycline. 10 years ago, only 350 people were dying. The math is not good. So why is it happening? Why is the NHS continuing on this path? It is clear drugs aren't working, as well as Big Pharma claim they do. There is a major issue within the NHS and other health services all around the world. The USA being probably one of the worst. Big Pharma are probably the biggest sham industry since the snake oil salesman of the older days. It is time to start thinking about these systems as broken. We need to stop trying to save them and start trying to figure out why they're not working and solving those issues.